we'll start now, and we'll give the floor to Mr. Kudakwashe Ndukula, the Executive Director of SACREEE. Mr. Ndukula, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cornelia. Good afternoon, everybody. Before we proceed, I would request that we start off by observing a minute of silence in honor of one of the illustrious ladies in the energy sector, Ntombifuthi Ntuli, who was the CEO of the South Africa Wind Energy Association. May your soul rest in peace. Can we have a moment of silence? Thank you. Again, good afternoon to you all. As has been introduced by my colleague Cornelia Ipinge, my name is Kudakwashe Ndukula, call me Kuda in short. I'm the Executive Director of the SADC Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. I welcome you all to the webinar series on youth, SADC Youth in Energy. And specifically this webinar series, which is a third in our series of webinars. This particular webinar is the third in the series of webinars that we have been hosting since June. As you saw on the notice board earlier on, that we had our first engagement, which was the first engagement with the youth in June, and then which was quickly followed by one on careers, research and innovation. And now we are meeting with the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Industry Associations. There are still 3 more webinars that are following after this one. And we encourage you all to join us in these webinars. So the one that is coming after today is the one on women in renewable energy and energy efficiency, which will be held in September, and then followed by another one on entrepreneurship in October. And then as a build up to COP26, we have one which is dedicated to climate change and energy, which is going to be held on the 17th of November. So again, we encourage you to please join us in this webinar series. Just maybe to give you some statistics on what has happened so far, we have got 170 participants that have registered so far in this webinar series, of which on an encouraging note, we have got 40% being women and 75% being those under the age of 35. According to SACREEE, these are our youth. Anyone below the age of 35, we consider them as the youth. So it's quite encouraging that we've got the youth that are the majority registered. We also have 15% being students who are currently at the tertiary education institutions. So maybe if I may just give a brief overview of SACREEE. SACREEE is the SADC Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, which was established in 2015 by the ministers responsible for energy. On our establishment, we were given a mandate by the same ministers that we should contribute to increasing or improving energy access, also improving energy security across the region by way of promoting renewable energy and energy efficiency, which is evidently in abundance in our region. So we are trying to address the barriers associated to wide-scale development of renewables, and these barriers vary from policy-related issues related to capacity to plan, to operate, to govern, renewable energy technologies and systems. We are also supporting in terms of mobilizing financial resources to support the development of renewable energy technologies and energy efficient systems. We are also, in that process, also looking at becoming a knowledge hub as a region. We generate information, we generate knowledge, and we share this knowledge with the different stakeholders. And in the execution of our mandate, there are quite a number of projects that we're already implementing as SACREEE, some of which are the Renewable Energy Entrepreneurship Support Facility, which is a technical support facility. And with this specific one, which I've highlighted, we have been able to engage with different entrepreneurs, supporting these entrepreneurs to develop their proposals, their business plans and business ideas into bankable proposals. We have also capacitated financial institutions also in appraising renewable energy projects. And we're also involved with on accelerating large-scale renewable energy deployment under a program called Accelerated Regional Energy Projects. We're looking at integrated resource planning, encouraging more women in energy and other issues. We're also involved in distributed renewable energy, especially under the Water Energy Food Nexus. We are also involved in green hydrogen. At the moment, we're developing a green hydrogen atlas, mapping the potential for development of renewable energy. Green hydrogen from renewable energy resources. We're also working on the energy efficient lighting and appliances, developing minimum energy performance standards. There's a decision by the SADC region that we should phase out inefficient lighting. So we're developing minimum energy performance standards and hoping that these will be adopted and pushing that they are adopted by the member states. Also involved in energy efficient cooling appliances such as refrigeration and air conditioners, solar thermal, capacity building in solar water heating, both domestic as well as process heat. And then finally, we are also involved in distributed transformers, ensuring that we support the access to distributed transformers. Energy efficient distribution transformers. You may be wondering why specifically on renewable energy associations. It is within our governance structures that we are supposed to have, we have a board of directors, and then we are now establishing technical committees. And in that technical committee, we are supposed to have private sector representation. And there's no better way of having private sector representation other than through the associations of renewable energy stakeholders. So we are in it for a long haul with the Renewable Energy Industry Association. So they form part of our governance systems. So with specifically to this program, the aim of this webinar series is actually to provide the youth with a platform for genuine sector conversations, specific conversations. We need to have more awareness because we've seen this as one of the barriers of renewable energy deployment. We need to exchange ideas. There is no specific category in society that is the knowledge generated to be shared. Innovative ideas need to be brought forward. So the outcomes of and recommendations of this webinar series will contribute to SACREEE in regional strategic interventions, which will lead to policy recommendations and evidence-based solutions. So with these few remarks, I would like to again say welcome to this webinar series, particularly thank the speakers, first of all, thank the moderator, Mrs. Gracia Munganga, all the speakers from different countries, that the associations representing different countries that are going to share with you some of their, their mandate, their operations, and how, what potential and opportunities are there for the youth within their specific countries. With that, I thank you. I hand you over to Director of Ceremonies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndukula. I now would like to introduce, before I introduce the moderator, just want to indicate that kindly keep your mic muted and also use the raise hand function during the Q&A session, as well as we encourage you to use the group chat for any questions or inquiries during the session. And to introduce our moderator for today, Ms. Gracia Mganga. She was born in Democratic Republic of Congo, and she's joining us from South Africa. She has experience within renewable energy and waste policy, as well as application engineering and consultancy within the renewable energy field. Over to you, Ms. Mganga. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
You can, okay, perfectly. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this third out of 6-part series of webinars. I'd just like to welcome everyone and thank you, everyone, for taking your time. I believe that I will not repeat what Mr. Kudakwashi had said, but just to re-emphasize the fact that, you know, the outcome of this webinar series will inform some key intervention for the SADC region, particularly to do with the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Strategy Action Plan. There are 2 points. The first one is the Action Plan 8, so the promotion of renewable energy and energy efficiency for information, advocacy, and awareness, and then Action Plan 9, which will consider cross-sectoral and cross-cutting issues when implementing renewable energy project and energy efficiency projects in the region. And this is something that I think South Africa particularly has a lot of experience with. I don't know, may I suggest, I think just coming back to the rules that were put together, that if you are not speaking, that you mute yourself. I can hear some background noise. Right, so as a direct next step, I would almost like to, in line with what we did earlier, invite a representative from SAWIA. So it's Ms. Mercia Greenback that will do a dedication to our very esteemed colleague that we have lost, the renewable energy industry in South Africa or across the region. Nudan Tombi was a pioneer in many ways. She's been working in the industry and pushing for positive development for well over 12 years. So it's a significant loss for the industry, and we join the SAWIA family, we join her family in mourning a loss. I don't know, Ms. Mercia, whether you are already online, and with that, I'd like to hand over to you before we come back to the program.
Thank you, Ms. Mganga, and thank you to everyone at SACREEE for your messages of condolences and support. It is much appreciated at this very difficult time. And thank you also for allowing me the privilege of saying a few words in honor of our colleague, because it has been an incredibly difficult time. I've had the privilege to work closely with Ntombi, as she was fondly called, from September 2019 in her role as CEO of the South African Wind Energy Association, in my capacity as director and chairperson of the association. And it has been indeed heartbreaking to lose such a formidable individual, such a passionate woman that has done so much for our industry. Ntombi was a seasoned energy professional, having held various positions at institutions such as the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. With more than 15 years experience, she has played an instrumental role in South Africa's energy transition. But Ntombi was a consummate professional, but she was also first and foremost a mother and a carer. And this character trait flowed through into her professional engagements. It spelled out her almost childlike passion to see a just energy transition become a reality. Her ability to feel completely comfortable reading about wind energy to a group of excited young school learners, and immediately leave that and step into a meeting and engage key stakeholders to push for regulatory reform. Her resilience, her determination to firmly entrench wind energy into the South African energy mix, but at the same time still be a uniting force, was indeed formidable and admirable. But Ntombi was a humble person. She was completely relatable. She personified what we hope and wish and dream that many of our young female professionals would aspire to be. She was a beacon of what can be achieved. And above all, she had passion. And this passion translated into a drive that would see her guide her team at SACREEE to make everyone believe in the power of wind energy. She refused to see problems or challenges. For Ntombi, she simply sought solutions. And she constantly sought and highlighted opportunities for the youth to enter into the sector. She celebrated the achievements of others. And as we celebrate Women's Month in South Africa, it is only fitting to salute and celebrate the life of this remarkable woman. Today is our chance to say thank you to Ntombi for the way you brightened our lives with your smile and your laughter, even though God granted you a short life. We will all feel cheated always that you were taken from us so soon, and yet we must learn to be grateful that you were a part of each of our lives at all. And if you'll allow me to close with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, what is success? To laugh often and much, and Ntombi and I shared many laughs, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. And with that, I say farewell, Ntombi. You have run a great race. You have succeeded, and you will forever be missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mercia, for this heartfelt tribute to Ntombi. Many of us who knew her personally, we agree that those words are fitting. And yes, we do feel cheated. Her life was shortened, but we, at the same time, we cannot but feel honored to have celebrated and shared moments, memories with this incredible human being. I think for the youth that's joining today, I think Ntombi's life reminds us really of what someone's life can achieve in a short period of time and how it can actually go and touch many lives. So with that, I'd like to now move on to the next. I hope you can still hear me. I'm having internet. The next part of our program involves a bit of 52 participants. Thank you. I'm just seeing in the chat, so everyone that has access to the chat room, there is a Zoom link available for those who would like to attend Ntombi's funeral service, which will happen, I believe, tomorrow between 2 and 4. So those who are available and want to join, please feel free to register. I don't believe that there is a limit in terms of numbers. So let's pay our last respect as much as we can. The next part of our program involves 2 parts. So the first one is a bit of a poll. We just like to understand from the audience whether you are part of an industry association or not. So you should have received a link. If not, I believe that Cornelia will just post it in the chat room, and you have about a couple of seconds to just try and respond. There's about 2 questions, so it shouldn't take more than 10 seconds before we move on and introduce our esteemed guests from the various renewable energy associations across the continent. So I will mute myself at the moment, and I will wait for the green light from Cornelia. I would like to encourage as many people as possible to complete the survey. Right, I just see that Cornelia has put the link to the survey in the chat room. So if there was anyone that was having issues accessing that, I hope that you've got access to it. And if you don't, please let me know. We'll try and sort it out in the next few seconds. The access code is hash, I think 925369. Right, I've got a message from Mercia that is that unfortunately has to leave us. Thank you very much, Mercia, for honoring us with your presence, particularly at this difficult time for Sawia, and our heartfelt condolences to the Sawia family and the rest of Tombi's intimate family.
Thank you once again.
Right. Cornelia, I might just lean on you here just to give me an indication of sort of the participation rate for the survey and how much more time we should allow before we move on to the next stage.
Okay, Ms. Munganga, I think you can read question 1 and 2, and then we'll project the answers later.
Great. So the first question in the poll, for those of you who already have access to it, is, are you currently part of any industry association? And that's a yes or no question. And if you answer yes, then what services does your association offer? And this is open-ended, so feel free to edit and include as much detail as possible.
Okay, Ms. Munganga, we can proceed and we will project the answers later. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Cornelia. So now we move to almost the meat of the event this afternoon, where we will hear from the various industry associations across the continent. So I believe we've got 7 countries represented today. The very first speaker will be Mr. Felix Chavapi. He's the chairman of the Solar Industry Association of Botswana. So what I will do is I will introduce speakers as they have to come online. I'm just pulling up Mr. Chavapi's bio. Give me a second. So let me introduce Mr. Chavapi. Mr. Chavapi has spearheaded all industry interactions between the private sector and the government of Botswana. He is currently the managing director and founder of Energy Systems Group, ESG, and Solar Heart Botswana, a market leader in the sale of renewable energy products with numerous operations across Botswana. He comes with over 15 years of experience in the solar industry, and he is committed to bridging the gap between Botswana limited grid capacity and the excess capacity from the renewable energy industry to ensure that electrification for all becomes a reality for the country. ESG, his company, is also Botswana's first accredited company with the Botswana Qualification Authority, BQA, as a solar business that provides training for solar water heater, in solar water heating, solar PV and energy management. Mr. Chavapi holds a BSc in Building and Construction Engineering from the University of Botswana and a Master's in Business Leadership from the University of South Africa, UNISA. He currently sits on the board of various companies across multiple industries, such as biomedical engineering, real estate, education, and construction. As a serial entrepreneur, he has collaborated in funding several successful companies in diverse industries. So, Mr. Chavapi, we would like to welcome you to this webinar this afternoon. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence. I will mute myself and hand over to you to present more about the Industry Association in Botswana.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the introduction. I would just like to confirm if everyone can hear me. Perhaps maybe
Yes, we
am I
can.
fairly audible? Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Our sincere condolences. Yes. Thank you. our sincere condolences to, losing some of our dear friends and colleagues in the industry. And obviously we have lost many other, other relatives or close friends. Our condolences to those who have obviously lost any of their friends and relatives as well. I have 3 items that I'll talk about, but on the later stage, I'll share with SACREEE another set of slides on opportunities for youth, which they can share with youth at their own at another time. If we can go to the next slide, so I can talk to the background on our industry association. So the Solar Industry Association of Botswana was actually set up through the Societies Act of Botswana in 2005. And I'm happy to say I was one of the people who were actually instrumental in setting up that the association. At the time, I wasn't the chairperson, but I was one of the members who were active in setting up the association. The aim of the association basically is to facilitate the wide-scale use of solar energy in Botswana. And our main objectives are obviously to share knowledge and information pertaining to the development of solar, whether it's your solar PV, solar thermal. That is our main objective. We also work very hard with other organizations to sort of foster standards in design, manufacture, installation, usage, marketing, and maintenance of solar systems. There is not a lot of manufacturing here, but yeah, we find that there's some of our members who have are currently slowly moving into manufacturing. Some have, for many years, have been manufacturing solar water heaters. And obviously, we try to get some of those members to align with the relevant standards. We also, stand as an organization to cultivate the highest ideals in ethics and how businesses deal with customers, deal with each other in terms of business transactions within the industry. Our membership is generally open to companies that are established that have an office in Botswana, registered with the register of companies. I engage in those activities that I've mentioned earlier, either the design, manufacturing, supply, installation, and maintenance of solar equipment. Those are, a set of our members. There has been obviously other interests, such as students who have also wanted to be members. Our association is trying to review some of those. The opportunities that the youth can find, and this slide, as I say, there's another set of slides that talk and elaborate more on the areas that I've actually highlighted here. We all know that there's limited electrification within the region. You find that I think South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, and some countries are the ones that have got perhaps maybe the highest electrification percentage in terms of access to electricity. But in other areas, countries like DRC and other countries, electrification is very, very, very low. So that stands as an opportunity for all our youth who are in this particular industry. And specifically for schools and health centers, as we speak right now, getting medication or health, whether it's pills or vaccinations, to remote areas, you'll find that there's no refrigeration and it becomes very, very difficult to store medicine. So that's a big opportunity for solar. Schools, we know that everybody else now is going to IT. If you're going to start to do information technology or introduce information technology in schools, you would expect that there should be electricity to drive or run those computers. So that's another huge opportunity. The telecommunication industry also generally, composed of very remote infrastructure that requires energy. So that's another opportunity. The tourism industry also, there's a lot of drive for tourists to start viewing this particular industry, to be specific, to be seen to be going green, and that it's demonstrating environmental protection and environmental preservation. Agriculture also is a big area where solar has shown very, very high potential, because a lot of water, for example, now we have a lot of underground water. We do not have water bodies that people can tap water out of. So there's a lot of water that needs to be extracted from underground. We have also observed in Botswana, and I think it's also similar in other countries, a high development around wildlife protection. Your wildlife scouts or personnel are in areas where there's no electricity, and they require power to be able to either facilitate their communication and other facilities, and also just generally living in much more comfortable camps. The police also found that there is quite a lot of use of renewable or solar in within the police activities, or in their policing areas for roadblocks and other activities such as communication. There's also an increased education within the public sector. We find that people are beginning to realize what solar potential, solar energy's potential is, and we see a lot of customers coming in now looking at solar as a true and real, alternative to your normal grid power, and they want to be able to tap in. And most of these your power corporations are generally trying to push the tariffs higher and higher now, obviously to be able to remain sustainable. And this is basically presenting a big opportunity, because solar has gone the other direction. Solar has actually gone down as opposed to the tariffs going up. So we reached the grid parity quite a while back. So now solar really has presented a huge potential and alternative to your grid power. And this is for both private individuals as well as the corporate entities. Next slide. The challenges that we face as a solar industry in Botswana is that there has been quite slow customer awareness in terms of, and also insufficient understanding of solar solutions. I mean, you find as a basic customer coming in and not understanding between solar thermal and solar PV. So it takes a lot of education, and it costs money to spend time educating people. So we've been working very, very closely with them to try and ensure that they can actually create some customer awareness, so that the companies do not have to spend money training or creating awareness for customers. Of course, as an industry association, we also find that we have to do that as our work as well, to sort of create customer awareness so that our members can spend time selling the solutions than selling the technology. Quality of products being manufactured locally and imported, they generally have very, very substandard quality. We have observed that is also what is really creating a bit of a challenge with customers, because they're looking at our budgets and they end up maybe with products that are really of very bad quality. And because we do not have very robust standards bodies that are actually able to implement some sort of a policing or regulation in terms of standards, we're finding that is really a big problem for us. It's creating a terrible image in terms of solar. In Botswana, I suppose in other countries it's different. In Botswana, we find that our standards are not mandatory. So regulation becomes a bit of a problem because anybody can choose to import a product, and they may not, they're not regulated to say they cannot use it, except if it's electrical, components. But generally, for your solar water heating, the standards are not very, stiff or mandatory. There's also, we found, and I think other countries have observed the same as well, that there's quite a lot of different agencies trying to talk to solar issues or to renewable issues. But these organizations, there's a lot of disconnect. They're disjointed and they're not talking in one voice. So you find that creates, again, confusion and very slow movement in terms of the direction of where the industry should be going. We are trying to sort of create an environment, again, as an association, to try and align all these organizations so that they can relate with us, with the industry through the association, and we can then pick up whichever organization is trying to assist. I mean, there's also international organizations, whether it's UNDP, it's any European donor agencies coming into the country. They do all these things sometimes in isolation of one another, and then that is a bit of a problem. And this is something that, as an association, we continue to try and help to align and encourage this organization to work together. The other challenge that we found was that there's inadequate relevant skills in the industry, which I mean, personally, I found, and which is why our company we made an effort to try and see how we can continue to train. There is some very interesting development, obviously, within the country, that some universities and some institutions have started training in solar, but we're still far from enough skills to be able to say we are ready to benefit from all these projects that are upcoming within Botswana and the region. We know of the project with the United States government, where Namibia and Botswana intend to get into very huge development around solar. And without the right skills, our people will not be able to benefit from such big projects. Again, in Botswana, we had also a very huge problem, and I suspect my colleagues from other countries also would observe that there's government procurement programs that focus mostly on least cost approach. And this is causing huge problems because it then attracts a lot of substandard equipment, which in most cases are much cheaper than products that are of good quality or fair quality. So that's another big challenge that we have to really try to work around and encourage our governments to try and avoid, because that's what really that's what messes the industry, because ultimately customers have this equipment sitting on top of their roofs, and they don't work as solar, they work as electric geysers, or they have bought PV panels, they're not generating the rated power on the panels. So that is where we find that there's a problem, and we think that government should be able to look beyond the least cost approach. Next slide, and I think I was only allowed 4 slides. That will probably be my last slide. Yes, thank you very much, and obviously continue to encourage colleagues to follow all COVID-19 protocols. I don't know if there will be any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chavapi. My suggestion is that we've got a slot allocated for Q&A. So I would suggest that anyone, you can type it in the chat if you've got any questions, but we will essentially deal with it at the end of the presentation just to be able to run for our program. We are running a little bit behind. If you want to note down your question, you can even mention who the question is addressed to. For example, would it be Malawi, would it be Botswana, etc. So the next presentation that we have is from the Renewable Energy Association in Malawi. And our speaker is Mr. Sustain Chigalu. He's the president of the Renewable Energy Association. I've been asked to keep the introduction of the speakers quite brief, so I'll do my best. Mr. Chigalu is a qualified electrical engineer and entrepreneur with over 17 years of experience in renewable energy, ICT, and marketing. He's also the co-founder of Inflow Ltd, a company that specializes in solar power systems, electrical projects, and power backup. He also is a trained electrical engineer from the University of Malawi and has a master's from University SACREEE in Italy. Over to you, Mr. Chigalu.
Thank you very much, Gracia. Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our presentation of REAMA from Malawi. We have got good news to share. Our president of Malawi just took over the chairmanship of SADC from yesterday. So Malawi is chairing the SADC. Let me take this opportunity to invite each one of you to come to Malawi and visit our beautiful country, our beautiful lake. It's called a calendar lake, 365 miles by 52 miles. That's the only calendar lake in the world. We've got beautiful mountains and nice fish to enjoy. So take advantage of the Malawi SADC chairmanship to visit us as far as the COVID-19 travel protocols allow you. Going by why we're here, REAMA, we are an industry association in Malawi, looking basically in all sectors of the RE and EE in Malawi. Our vision as DLA is to become the most efficient and reliable center for information, research, and information for all RETs. So the sectors that we represent, we ideally represent all the sectors of RE and EE, talk of solar, hydro, wind, biomass, clean and efficient cookstoves across a value chain. In terms of the membership, we have got an open membership policy. Our membership is basically open to corporates, that's private institutions, NGOs, individuals, as well as student members. We take both those organizations that are directly involved in the industry and even those that are not directly involved, but they are interested. You don't have to be technical. You, from any other background, you can become a member of REAMA. It's easier to become a member. You fill up a form and you choose your category, you pay your membership fees, and you are a member. The membership is renewable annually. Services we offer networking platforms through meetings, Facebook, WhatsApp, and other innovative platforms. We offer lobbying and advocacy. If members have got challenges with tax or duty issues with the government, we are there as a platform to lobby for a better tax regime. As we talk in Malawi, solar products come in zero rated duty and VAT. We as well provide events for members to interact. In terms of the opportunities for the youth, we see a number of opportunities that our industry for renewable energy industries in Malawi offer, among which are career choice opportunities. So students have got a choice to study, and we've got universities with specialized renewable energy and energy efficiency programs and courses. There are a number of internship placements through the members of REAMA. Attachments and placements are available, so students are free to contact us and we can attach them to appropriate institutions. Training opportunities for youth, both local and international scholarships, job openings, sector research, consultancy, and some leadership roles. My company, Inflow Limited, we hosted an intern from March to June this year. We recommended her for training, and eventually she was picked, and she's a country director for African Sun Energy, a company based in Botswana with operations in Malawi. She was a student at the Zuzu University. So this just gives an example on how vast and how flexible our industry is, that is able to give opportunities to our young people, because we believe our world can only be better with young people. Yeah, perhaps roles of REAMA in the EE sector. We build dialogue platforms for members, government, industry, and development partners, and the general public. We provide sensitization to members and on the benefits of RIE in terms of cutting costs and being green. We raise awareness on climate change and the environment. As we're all aware, our world is warming up and the challenges are many. We all need to take active participation. We organize various events, fairs, and visitations, and indeed we promote RE and E to students in schools and colleges so that we can influence adoption of RE products in the society. There are various challenges, but for every challenge, there's an opportunity and there's a solution. So that's why it is important that our youth must be engaged to not only see problems as roadblocks, but to see challenges and problems as opportunities, because we believe the youth are the one to provide solutions. So in the context of Malawi, what challenges do we see? Generally, there's lack of interest from the general public. We want more youths to be involved. We want the general public involved in this sector. Limited active participation by even the industry players. We want all industry players to be engaged and involved in issues of RE and EE in terms of policy as well as implementation. Yeah, just as my colleague from Botswana said, we see some disjoint and poor enforcement of laws and standards for the sector. Talking of solutions, we believe at REAMA, we believe that collaboration of REAMA, government, regulators, industry and academia and development partners, we can properly regulate and promote the industry for the benefit of everyone. There is need for follow-up and action on your commitments by government and all various stakeholders. Yes, our youth are very important. Women and marginalized groups must be involved at all levels of policy formulation and implementation, as well as evaluation, so that we can have a better world. One possibility and the solution is for us to work together in terms of mobilizing resources to finance renewable energy technologies, as well as energy efficiency promotional programs that we have around. Thank you very much for your participation. I'll be available to take your questions at the end. Thank you. Krisha?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chigalu. Again, I see that there's already quite a lot of action in the chat room, so I would encourage speakers to respond directly if you think so, or we could wait until the end of the session for the Q&A. The next speaker is from South Africa, and it's Mr. Niveshan Govender. I have had the pleasure of working with Niveshan, and I must say Sapia is doing amazing work. So again, my challenge here is to keep Niveshan's bio quite short. Let me introduce Niveshan. He works quite closely with more than 300 companies through the solar PV value chain in South Africa. In the last 3 years, he has championed the development of implementation of the voluntary quality mechanism for the PV Green Card, a program based on skills development, standardization and documentation of small-scale embedded generation. And as we heard from the previous speakers, this is an issue on the Global Solar Council and leads the African Task Force. Over to you, Niveshan.
Thank you very much, Gracia. I think my challenge is to keep my presentation under 6 minutes with everything that's been asked. But for those of you who don't know me, and as I've been introduced, my name is Nubeshan Govender. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of SACREEE. Next slide, please. I'm going to do a quick introduction. Oh dear, my slides seem to have misaligned. But nonetheless, so SACREEE, the Solar PV Industry Association, is a non-for-profit industry association. It aims to promote, develop, and grow PV and the industry as part of the wider renewable energy industry here in South Africa. We firmly believe that for SACREEE to be successful, all members must agree on a shared vision for the future direction of the association, endorse the core purpose of the organization, and embrace the values that underpin our internal interactions and engagements with stakeholders. Our vision is to make solar PV the electricity generation technology of choice in South Africa and the rest of sub-Saharan Africa in support of socio-economic development. Our mission is to vigorously mobilize support for the sustainable growth of the solar PV industry in South Africa. And our values have always been cohesion, consistency, and collaboration. The aim of the association is to facilitate a viable solar PV market. And we do this in two ways. One, by becoming the trusted partner to government, and two, by promoting our members, their services and products that they have to offer. In terms of the membership, oh dear, someone's really messed with my slides. In terms of the membership, the association was established 10 years ago in 2010, with just 6 members. We currently sit with more than 544 members across the value chain of solar PV. And these members vary through the value chain from project developers, IPPs, EPCs, O&M contractors, manufacturers and OEMs, rooftop installation companies, training, consulting, research facilities, financial institutions, all the way down to PV professionals or individuals in the space. Next slide, please. The core value proposition of the association is 4 parts. The first one is representation. So we do represent the majority of the solar PV industry in South Africa, with 544 active members across the association. We have 320 accredited PV green card installers doing rooftop installations, and we've managed to train over 1,200 PV installers over the last 3 years through the PV Green Card program. The second pillar being stakeholder engagement. We pride ourselves in regular engagements with government, labor, business through various platforms that we have available to us. The third pillar being thought leadership. So we position ourselves as a thought leader for renewable energy and solar PV specifically. And we do this through various media engagements, leading webinars that I'll talk about a little bit later on, and structuring the association into working groups to have constant conversations. The last one being the SACREEE reach. So we have more than 4,000 players on our database. Our social media following is over 9,000, and we have a number of events that we reach out to. Next slide, please. Our working groups, this is the structure of the association. So we've structured the association into 10 working groups dealing with key challenges or key areas of interest for industry. And this is just to have industry talking amongst themselves with leaders and experts in the field to guide where we should be moving to within these topics. Next slide, please. Okay, I've got 2 minutes left. Some of the initiatives of the association I wanted to highlight: the PV Green Card program, Gracia has talked about, is a quality mechanism program that trains and develops the skills of installers, thereby making them recognized and able to do installations. The PV Professionals platform is a platform for like-minded professionals to talk to one another, network, opportunities to skills development, opportunities to jobs, opportunities to tenders are posted through this platform. The SSEG municipal map, this is a map of municipalities in South Africa, giving you indications of small-scale embedded generation application processes with your distributor, feed-in tariffs that they might have, and contacts to get connection agreements done with the municipalities. The PV spotter map, this is for information purposes. So it's plots all of the projects in South Africa, giving you an indication of how many projects, what's the installed capacity at any given time. The next one is the jobs report. This is research that the association does. So it basically, this research particularly quantified the number of jobs in solar PV. And the last one is the marketplace for advertising products and services that members have. Next slide, please. Some of the webinar series that we have done. So this one being developing developers, very important for youth participation. We look at the principle of knowledge is power. So sharing knowledge is powerful to anyone in the sector. This series alone covered 4,000 participants over 7 sessions. We covered all the way from policy and regulatory framework through to building projects, engineering projects, operating, maintaining projects, and all the financial aspects and the legal aspects associated with renewable energy projects. Next slide, please. This is a continuation of that series because it was so successful. This series really just unpacks the local value chain. So where can local players be incorporated into the renewable energy space? I think my time is up. I have one more slide. If I can just get through it. At the last webinar series, this one focused on distributed generation, again, looking at the policy regulatory framework, how to build projects that are distributed, what are the technical aspects, the financial aspects, the legal aspects, and how do you build these projects with global competence using local resources. I think that covers my slides. I'm sorry, I took a... Oh, I wanted to end with market indicators. So I didn't cover challenges, but a slide that can be shared with members is just the market indicators in South Africa. So what we've been able to achieve over the last 10 years in a slide that can just be shared with the members. Okay.
Thank you very much, Yveshan. Really appreciate it. I'd like to move on to our next speaker, but I believe, Cornelia, please correct me if I'm wrong. We are changing the order, so Zambia will present before Tanzania. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. So I'll just wait to have the correct slides for Zambia, and then I can introduce the next speaker. So our next speaker is Mr. Matanda Mwewa. Is the chairperson of the Solar Industry Association in Zambia. Mr. Mwewa is an enthusiastic supporter of renewable energy and an ambassador and advocate for green energy solutions to make a significant contribution to sub-Saharan Africa's national and regional crisis. He also believes that increasing sustainable energy technologies in the overall supply chain should be critical for any country's national energy policy. Over to you, Mr. Matanda.
Thank you very much, Christian. I would like to start by saying thank you very much for inviting SIAs to take part in the webinar. And I would also like to just send our condolences to you for your loss. Yeah, so let me just dive straight into my presentation. So basically, the Solar Industry Association was registered in 2018, and it's governed by an executive committee consisting of a chairperson, the vice chair, secretary, and the treasurer. And these persons are basically from companies that are registered under CIs. The objectives of the association are to disseminate knowledge and information pertaining to financing, legal parameters, development and application of solar industry in Zambia. Also to foster high standards of practice with design, manufacture, installation, usage, marketing, and maintenance of solar systems. Also to cultivate the highest ideals and ethics in all business and professional dealings within the solar industry in Zambia. What we do and what we are, basically the association has more than 60 companies registered, and the numbers are growing. The association is open to any Zambian firm or company that is registered within the energy or with the Energy Regulation Board, ERB. And The services we provide to our members are: one, we promote, aid, foster, develop, and protect the interests of the members, secure to the membership of the association with advantage of unanimity of action by providing a coordinated voice for the members of the association. We provide means for promoting, opposing in accordance with the interest of the members of association of any legislation, regulation, or other actions as considered appropriate by the association. Also offer by establishing code of conduct and take actions to oversee that all members of the association adhere to this code of conduct. Also maintain a list of Zambian designers, distributors, manufacturers, suppliers, installers, maintainers of solar systems. The association is basically made up of 3 streams, which is solar home systems, the mini grids, as well as commercial and industry players. The opportunities that are available for the youth in the RIE and EE sector, I would like to just say entrepreneurship, as we know that Sub-Saharan is, we have about more than 600 million people without access to electricity. And that's just an opportunity for anyone to get in and provide business models that will actually reach the masses that are in the rural areas. And as you can see, most countries in Sub-Saharan or SADC have issues when it comes to connections. And we have rampant electricity, probably maybe load shedding, a lot of load shedding. And that's also just an opportunity for people to get in and provide on-grid and off-grid solutions. Also, when it comes to career-wise, we see that you can get in by being a sales application engineer or technician. We see a number of young people that I've worked with. I know I'm young, but the people that I've worked with are interested in becoming or taking up these roles. Also, we see in sales and marketing, we see now that there are a lot of companies from Western world that are coming, even the East, that are coming in with their products. I would like to mention that I also work for an organization called JA Solar. I'm the sales SADC manager in the SADC, basically. So you can see that the opportunities for young people to actually get in and be part of the energy system. Next, please. SIAS also creates a community awareness strategy for its members, and the public disseminates information for their use in their individual and collective awareness campaigns. So like my friends or previous speakers have alluded to, we find that there's a lot of misinformation out there, and SIAS has created a platform where we disseminate information to the public and also to our members, notifying them and just encouraging them to see that there is also new technology that's coming on board. Some challenges that we see and face in the RE sector is that there's underexploited renewable energy sector. I'm sure you can see that we solely depend, or most of our countries depend on hydro. For example, Zambia has about more than 80% dependence on hydro, and the rest is just here and there. So we see that there's potential actually to get into other forms of renewable energy. I can also say infrastructure pitfalls. We see that grid connections are not really well, especially in my country, Zambia. And that is just one of the challenges that we face. Energy poverty. A few people can afford to climb the energy ladder. So that's also a challenge for people that are coming up with business models to actually sell in the rural areas and just people that need energy. Policy, like many of the previous speakers have alluded to, policy and regulation hindrances. We find that there are a lot of hindrances when it comes to regulations, when it comes to tax, duty, things are not really clear. And this is when we're trying to actually establish a clear path for, especially for Zambia, seeing that SIAS is just a new association. Institutional barriers, technical limitations. We've noticed that if we don't have people that are really technical when it comes to such things, also just to provide bankable proposals for financiers to look at, that's been a challenge. Human resources and awareness challenges, also financial barriers out there. The next. slide. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I lost connection. So
Okay.
these are some of the suggestions that we would like to put out there. Enhance public and private partnerships, create financing frameworks, learning from existing financing options, create guidelines and capacity to support learning of RIE and EE technologies application, build information gathering systems. Like you noted earlier when you were starting that you needed to see who's joined and where they are from. So that's just important to see who's participating and where they're coming from. Also create guidelines for gender mainstream. We've noticed that a few more folk participate less when it comes to renewable energy, and would like to see more of them coming on board and just be part of this vehicle. And with that said, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matanda, for this presentation. Again, I'd like to encourage everyone, if you've got any questions, please put it in the chat and we'll deal with it in the Q&A session. So the next presentation, so I believe we are back to our original program, will be from Tanzania. Cornelia, I don't know if you can help us put back the slides from Tanzania. And our speaker there is Dr. Engineer Matimbwi, who is the Executive Secretary of the Tanzania Renewable Energy Association. I just want to confirm that we've got Dr. Matimbwi. May I suggest that we mute ourselves if we are not talking, just to avoid any background noise? Okay. Perfect. Over to you. I believe it's Emma Laswai presenting on behalf of Dr. Matimbwi. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. Good afternoon, everyone.
Correct. Okay, over to you, Emma.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Apologies from Matthew. He could not make it today with you. So I just took his presentation and I'll be presenting on behalf of Tanzania Renewable Energy Association. So TAREA, or Tanzania Renewable Energy Association, is celebrating 20 years since it was founded this year, which it started as Tanzania Solar Energy Association and later on changed to Tanzania Renewable Energy Association just to accommodate all the other renewable energy technologies on board. It is a non-profit, member-based organization representing the renewable energy and energy efficiency actors in Tanzania. Technologies that we take on board are solar, wind, mini hydro, geothermal, hydrogen, tidal, and biomass. Our membership is open to any person, organization, company that supports the mission of TAREA to become a member. Actually, we also take members from even outside the country. And the process, one fills a form, pays the application and annual fee to become a member. And membership categories include almost everyone. We have students on board, technicians, associate, professionals, all these are individuals, and also we have corporate members. These include the business companies and as well as the non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, both local and international. Services that TAREA offers include advocacy and lobby works within the sector, business-to-business meetings, capacity building, financing, mobilization, market promotion, as well as enabling youth employability in the sector. Next slide. Opportunities to the youth in renewable energy and energy efficiency, actually we just highlighted. There are plenty, but in the course of time we highlighted two. There are a lot of opportunities to capacity building, given that we offer various services, trainings, just to anyone interested. So even the youth are encouraged to take these opportunities. And most of the time we only have the male counterparts being more than the female. So we design programs that we also take on board female, just to encourage them to participate and be active to grab opportunities that are in the sector. Roles of TAREA, The biggest role is creating awareness, specifically about renewable energy and energy efficiency. This is achieved, and actually it's done to all the wide range of stakeholders, from the decision makers to the general public. Decision makers, we talk of the members of the parliament. These are the ones that make the laws and regulations in the country, to the consumers of these technologies, which are the general public and the end users in the communities. This is achieved through study visits. We believe in seeing, so for those, especially decision makers, it's hard to explain things in pictures and slides, so we organize and facilitate study visits, workshops, media campaigns that includes both online, radio, television, and newspapers campaign, village, and also annual renewable energy fairs we normally conduct to the general public in different areas. As you all know, Tanzania is a huge country. It's very hard to reach to each and every corner in a day. So we kind of rotate to different regions to make sure that the general public is informed. And also we facilitate technology installations for demonstration in our local communities. Next slide. Challenges in the renewable energy space. Actually, there are plenty, just they are not new. I see they've been repeated in most of the presentations. We have unexpected changes of policies. From this time, you find this is the current policy, and all of a sudden, you find the political influence changes policies in a fraction of a second. Limited access to the local financing. Most of our corporate members are having this challenge. And also there is a limited knowledge of the decision makers on potentials of renewable energy. You find the decision maker is quite less informed of the potentials of the technology. So this leads to making policies blindly without any informed decision. Limited understanding of the decision makers on the impact of the minimum energy performance standards. This I have a case, but it just depends on the questions that will come at the end because it's a very long story. And also low rates, low interest on of the utility to integrate the renewable energy electricity. We still have not been able to integrate the electricity that comes from renewable energy to the national grid. So this is kind of setting back the business people with excess power in their utilities. Recommendations. Learning from these challenges, we always recommend stakeholders to be involved in the process of changing the policies so that nothing is overlooked. Also, the government to set up affordable renewable energy finance products. There are quite a few from the government. Sensitizing the decision makers on potentials of renewable energy and benefits of the energy efficiency measures. This is what TAREA is currently looking at with a special eye, just to make sure that we don't have upcoming policies that are not involving the stakeholders in the whole government. I see a comment, but I think this is the last slide. Yeah, thank you. Hello?
Hi. No, thank you very much, Emma. Have we cut your presentation short or?
No,
that's the end. Okay, yeah. Perfect. No, thanks very much, Emma. Really appreciated standing in for Dr. Matimbui. And I'm assuming that you are able to stay with us until the end, so you would be able to deal with the Q&A session.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next speaker is from Zimbabwe. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Azaya Nyakusendwa. I hope I've said it correctly. So he is the chairman of the Renewable Energy Association of Zimbabwe. Mr. Nyakusendwa is the founder and CEO of Self Energy, a private limited company that provides renewable energy solution for productive use. He also has consulting experience on various solar PV configuration, rooftop, ground-mounted in the mini-grids industry. He has been instrumental in pushing forward the policy formulation, particularly in Zimbabwe, for renewable energy, energy efficiency, the nationally determined contribution NDCs, rural electrification strategy targets, skills, and standards. Over to you, Mr. Nyakusendwa.
Thank you, Gracia, and thanks to the director of SACREEE and his team for having put up this webinar, and my condolences to Dombi's family and colleagues. My presentation basically highlights what we do as the Renewable Energy Association of Zimbabwe. We are the voice of the private sector in the renewable energy sector, and we are the only body recognized by the authorities. We are registered as a private voluntary organization with a constitution which governs our membership, which is open to companies and also institutions and NGOs. We dare to facilitate sustainable development and uptake of quality renewable energy technologies. We also active in awareness raising, fundraising, advocacy, policy and standards. Our membership currently stands at 35. We are relatively new, having been formed in 2016, and we cover all forms of renewable energy from solar PV, mini hydros, biofuels, e-vehicles, waste energy, and EE. So we have subcommittees that then look at some of those sectors. Just a snapshot of who our membership are, some of them, which range from biofuels to solar PV and EPCs and solar home systems. Next slide, please. Right, opportunities for youths in RE and EE. Basically, I'm highlighting what's there on the ground that youths can take advantage of. We see continued reduction of levelized cost of electricity and also that of storage. That presents an opportunity in itself. What was not possible is now possible. New jobs, skills, we've got new jobs that are coming online now that were not in existence. I'll give you an example. In our country, in particular, we never used to have biogas digester installers, and also solar PV installers. Those are areas that we are saying there's opportunities for youths that they can take advantage. The convergence in ICT, telecoms, and RE also presents an opportunity. Solar rooftop solutions and solar home systems, energy for productive use, which covers, a lot of areas there, from agriculture to industrial use. There is an area. Operations and maintenance has normally been combined in most companies as one. Youths can actually, focus on that as well. DRE systems, energy efficiency, climate change, the SDGs, hydrogen and electric vehicles, all present, opportunities. I've just put in additional slides just to show where opportunities also lie. Next slide, please. We have smart grids, smart cities, and which are now being possible because of renewable energy and storage. Smart transports and meters, all that presents opportunities. Next slide again. These are just illustrations for opportunities. Next slide, please. Smart homes also present opportunities. Now you've got your EVs that can also charge through your homes, virtually everything integrated. Next slide, please. This is just smart grid technology. Again, it's another opportunity which covers, the monitoring, communication with your renewables and storage, distribution, and metering and EVs. If you go to the next slide, please. Electric vehicles are picking up. Next slide, please. Smart mobility. Again, the ability for us to be able then to improve the functioning of our mobility systems also present an opportunity using ICTs. Next slide, please. Mobility as a service, again, making convenience to customers is another opportunity. Next slide, please. Challenges and suggested in RE sector, basically the high upfront costs. Obviously, I've just put in, the suggested solutions there. Lack of appropriate funding, high cost of funding, consistent policies, lack of RE and E incentives, substandard products, lack of testing facilities, lack of skills, awareness, and affordability and accessibility. Next slide, please. Thank you. That's my presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Nyakusendwa. I think we can move on to our next speaker from Mozambique, Mr. Emmett Conrad. I don't know if you've got the slides from Mozambique, AMER, already up. Yes, we do. Let me do a quick introduction. Mr. Conrad comes with over 10 years of experience in various roles in development, social enterprise, impact investing, and renewable energy. He brings a comprehensive local knowledge of the Mozambican market and has been working in the development of base of the pyramid business models and markets in rural retail and distribution for fast-moving consumer goods. He has supported businesses in the development of new ventures and commercial development of renewable energy projects and businesses, both grid-tied and off-grid projects. Over to you, Mr. Conrad. I'd just like to say that I think we are running significantly behind our schedule. I'm in contact with Cornelia. We'll try and give you an update on how we make up for time. Hopefully, most of you can still stay with us until the end of the program. Over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the introduction. And my deep, sincere thank yous to SACREEE for organizing this event and for including AMER, Mozambique Renewable Energy Association, and for bringing us all together. I'll just go a quick summary about our association. I think everybody's gotten the common gist of our associations. We are industry-led associations. We are private sector focused. In the context of Mozambique, we were created in 2017, so we're just pushing into our 5th year of operations, which is a success story. We have common objectives, which I think are pretty much cross-cutting across all renewable energy associations, but essentially to represent the interests of the private sector, act as a common voice for the private sector focused in investing in renewable energy development, to promote awareness, to be the interlocutor and facilitator with government, and to facilitate the general development of the sector. Next slide, please. I had a long presentation, maybe 20 slides, but we're limited to 5. So I'm just going to give you the forward direction of which we're moving in. So we started off this year with a massive forum with over 500 delegates. This was online, of course, not in person. And from this forum, we had delegates from over 80 countries focusing on renewables in Mozambique. Out of this, we produced a briefing on renewables in Mozambique. You can follow this link to download it. And it's a pretty comprehensive overview with infographics and then some. And we also have videos of these same infographics with a narration that you can find online. And this year has been big on the regulatory and legislative front. We've had 2 major pieces of legislation pushed forward by government. One is the Off-Grid Energy Access Decree. And secondly is finally we've received the revisions to the electricity law of 2009, excuse me. And this has been a long-term process, over a decade in the making, of reviewing the current regulatory framework for electricity generation, dissemination, transmission, and energy service providers writ large. Next slide, please. I'm just really going to cut through to the key, the essence of this webinar and the reason why we're here. The objective is to increase the number of youth participating and engaging in the sector. I'd like to really highlight that AMER has 4 ongoing initiatives that directly target this point of engagement. The president and chairman of our board is a strong proponent and champion of not committing the same mistakes that the oil and gas sector has committed in the context of Mozambique specifically, by not focusing on national or domestic content development, national content development. And we see that the biggest point of engagement for benefit in terms of national content development is in human resource development, specifically targeting our youth. So we have a partnership with KH, which is a German-based association that is developing an apprenticeship program where we will have our first class of apprentices who will have internships with our members. And there will be a range of different mentorship programs and developments that we'll be doing in terms of capacity building and training. We are also in conjunction with Talento, which is an online platform for, it's more than a job portal. It's about, it's incubating, let's say, human resources, specifically focusing on the youth in terms of entry-level professional opportunities and getting young Mozambican professionals into the formal sectors. So we are repackaging and retooling this specifically for renewable energies in Mozambique. Secondly, we're working with a program called RENAC. I think some of our partners here might be engaging with them. It's a GIZ-led program focusing on technical skills training programs. So they're working for water and solar technical training. They're working on very engineering related programs. So this is mostly focused through technical institutes and vocational training institutes and working on, let's say, middle tier professional development. But this program that is open to all Mozambicans, and this is one of the few programs that we've developed or has been developed for renewable energy in Portuguese in the context of Mozambique. Remember, Mozambique is a Portuguese-speaking country. And then finally, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Energypedia, which is a Wikipedia type platform for knowledge sharing and content aggregation. And we are in partnership and we'll be rolling this out. And this is a great tool and a great platform for really bringing engagement to the youth because it's much more accessible. And in terms of the interaction, we are going to be looking at other different activities that we can use to make it more accessible to Mozambican youth. And I think the next slide is my last, in summary. I know Mozambique offers an evolving landscape on the regulatory front, as I've already highlighted. We have two major pieces of legislation that are moving forward this year. We have over 15 donor-led initiatives that are engaging with development of the renewable energy space in the context of Mozambique. So whether you're private sector, whether you're an individual, whether you're a policymaker, we have a range of different partners and donors that we can work with to support and subsidize these initiatives. We have a growing domestic ecosystem of private sector actors. Our association currently counts on over 65 private sector members. This is from our large utility companies to our large on-grid power generation managers and project developers, to our small mom and pop shop, solar installers working in rural Mozambique who are installing maybe 50 solar home systems a month. So come and talk to us. We have a range of different stakeholders for you to engage with. And finally, there is a strong commitment from government for investment and support in renewable energy. So come to Mozambique. We have an evolving landscape and we have a lot to engage on. Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. And if anybody has any questions for me, we'll be sticking around. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmett, for this presentation. It's very Mozambique, particularly in regards to youth. Unfortunately, from my side, I think I have a hard stop. So it's been a real honor to be put across the 7 different countries. I would really like to express my gratitude to the speakers who almost came to the assignment by shortening their presentation and still doing justice to both the benefit that the sector can bring for the development of the continent, but also to all the good work that's currently happening in their countries. Without that, I'll say thank you very much to everyone, and then I'll hand over to Cornelia. I believe that we are almost there. There is an additional poll, and then SACREEE Tuyakula will take you through some of the activities that they've been up to. Thank you very much, everyone, and bye-bye. Over to you, Cornelia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Munganga, for coming along and moderating this session with us. I'll just ask my colleague Tuyakula to quickly showcase the answers to the Slido that we have. And since we also posted the second question there, I'll just share it again. And also in the chat, we've indicated a link to SACREE's website where there are different opportunities for the youth that are open. We highly encourage you to look on the website, and there's one which is aimed for a technical training by Rest of Africa in partnership as well with SACREE. The due date is on the 25th of August, and there's also another one with the Wealth Nexus by GWP Southern Africa, which is also, that is actually due tomorrow. So please head over and apply. And with our first question that we had, it was asking whether you're part of an association or not, and then what services does your association offer. So you can see there that in the word cloud that most of the answers are no, and we also have not yet. So that is also encouraging to know that there are some people that are willing to join associations, and there are also different services that the association offer, which we have also heard from our presenters. I think one of it, a research and advisory policy comes also through, energy services, fundraising, coordination, networking. So those are some of the answers that we got. Tiapula, can you go to the second question? I think this question, not a lot of people had seen it. Tiapula, I'll just ask you if you can post again this question in the, or I can do that actually, because you're projecting. So this question, we're asking, what do you think the association you belong to, or do you think the association you belong to is adequately serving your interests? And then you can elaborate. I think maybe the reason why we also don't have a lot of responses is not a lot of people are part of the associations. So I think with this, what we wanted to do today really is to showcase the different types of associations that exist in the SADC region. Unfortunately, some of them could not attend. As an example, we have an association in Angola. There's also a Renewable Energy Association in Zambia. We also have an association in Namibia, just to mention a few. And with those countries that do not have associations, we hope also this type of webinar engagement encourages them to establish those. I think now we can move to shortly a Q&A, because we are running out of time, but we also just want to make sure that if there are any burning questions from the audience, that we keep those. We can take about 3 questions. And we also know that we have some questions in the chat. So hopefully the speakers for the country representation can answer those questions, but I'll open up the floor for 3 questions. You can raise your hand and we'll give you the floor. Thank you. Okay, while we wait for hands, I'll just check the chat quickly. I think there are 3 questions that were directed to Botswana. Just to check if Felix is around. Yes. So one question is, why is the association having no online presence since inception? And what are the key achievements for the association in Botswana? Felix, are you there?
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. The question on the online, the biggest challenge, I think most associations would have those challenges. And I give an example. In Germany, the companies that are part of the German Solar Association contribute a certain percentage of their turnover towards the support of the association. Now, we don't see that in our region or in Africa in general. You find that these associations are supported by contributions from members, and generally they are very minimal. So we bring back as an association to try and secure funding that can support the association. That is one area why you find that we're still battling to get more marketing and other resources that can make members access us through that. So it's something that's a work in progress, and we're trying to. Currently, we're working with another entity that is currently trying to support us. NDP currently doing a study to try and identify how they can support the association going forward. And I think some of the benefits that come out of that study may, allow us to be able to develop some of those resources. The achievements. There's quite several in the benefit of trying to move faster, and also because we're already out of time. There's a lot of agreements that we have generated between ourselves and government. We've generated agreements between us and GIZ. We currently also are working, obviously, with UNDP, as I said. We are again working with what would be a chamber of commerce in terms of what you would have in other countries, which is called Business Botswana here. So there's quite a bit, and we worked with the Construction Industry Training Fund, that basically trains artisans, and we've helped them in terms of working with them to develop training standards and all that for our artisans. We have generally ongoing, relationships with even the Botswana energy regulator. In essence, the Solar Association, in terms of what you see to date, in terms of development around solar, has been our government with association working very closely together. I think in brief, that's what we've been able to do. Anything? I'm trying to see the other questions. Can you help me there with the next question? I think there was somebody who was asking about manufacturer, somebody out of Russia. Yeah.
Yes. So they are a student, a master's student, and let me just check.
Yes. In essence, really, I think anyone is able to start whatever sort of business here that you can. And then I think for the youth, what is important and what may be difficult going forward is economies of scale. I mean, if you want to start a manufacturing capacity here, is that you manufacture here. Government are fighting against protectionism. Others, obviously, there's advantages. In Botswana, you have what is called there's a license that you get for manufacturing in Botswana, and it gives you advantage over the tendering processes within government. So, say suppose you are manufacturing panels in Botswana, if you went into a bid with other competitors and you have a manufacturing capacity, you are given up to about 15% discount on your pricing, which really works for anyone manufacturing. But out there in the private sector, you don't get that advantage. You have to demonstrate that you have a sufficient capacity to be able to supply everyone for the government to even start to think about closing the border against any imports of similar products. So that's a very, slippery ground, and it's an ongoing discussion. But in essence, what we find with most of these manufacturing entities within the country is that economies of scale. If you are selling, if you are selling, modules against guys importing from China, your chances of competing with those numbers, because they have very huge economies of scale, so they can drive the prices down in a very serious manner. So look, anybody's open to set up manufacturing. If you have a business case, I think you can do it. There was another last question. If you can assist me there, I'm not sure. I think it was just before our colleague from Russia.
There was a question directed to Malawi, but I think they have answered that question. Yes, another question about Botswana is that you have any wind maps, up-to-date wind maps, and who funds such surveys for wind maps, the government or the private institutions?
Most of the studies in Botswana have been funded by your UN, your World Bank, and all that. So that will be studies that are in the custody of government. But you can, if you are an interested party, access those studies. So those are available. I think they were done recently by Power Africa again, I think for wind, because wind has never been really a very major resource we have done work with. But I think recently there has been a study on wind, and I think that's available within government enclave.
Okay, thank you so much for answering those questions, and also thank you to Malawi for answering the question in the chat. In the interest of time, I've just shared a link to the webinar evaluation form, which we kindly encourage you to fill out in how we can improve our webinar, as well as for other recommendations or suggestions we can do. I've also shared the link to the SADC Energy Youth Organization survey that we are currently running, that was launched when we started this webinar series. So we're trying to map out the different organizations, NGOs, institutions that play a role within the youth in the different countries relating to renewable energy and energy efficiency. So with that, I'll hand over to my colleague, Eugenia Masbukeni. She's the renewable energy expert at SACREEE, to give us the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cornelia. Thank you very much to everyone for participating. This was a solemn webinar, but yet very informative. Thank you very much. May our sins don't be so rest in eternal peace. I would like to thank Gracia for moderating the session, Marcia for joining us in paying tribute to Alcin Dombi, to all the presenters for putting together these very informative presentations. We've learned a lot. To all the participants, thank you very much. We feel encouraged. And please keep participating. I also want to thank my SACREEE colleagues who put together this interesting and relevant webinar. I think it's very encouraging to learn that most of the countries, if not all, have quite dynamic and growing renewable energy and energy efficiency associations. We learned this from Botswana, South Africa, Tanzania, Zambia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, as well as Mozambique. What we learned is that we have associations in most countries, and they are doing quite a lot of exciting and dynamic work. Some of the associations are quite technology specific, and some are all embracing, representing all aspects across the renewable energy value chain. We also noted that there are laid down governance structures, and there's clarity in terms of their mandate. Then in terms of their roles, I think they're quite common across all the associations in terms of facilitating a transition and deployment of renewable energy as their overall goal, as well as the adoption of renewable energy standards. Then they're also trying to promote knowledge management, awareness and advocacy, network platforms, and creating a common voice for the sector. They also have a role in terms of educating communities as well as other stakeholders about the sector, about the technologies, sector developments, research, as well as other different activities that are being undertaken. We are encouraged to hear that associations are playing a role in terms of providing career guidance, as well as internship placements and offering, I think, opportunities for employment in some countries. And that they also play a critical role, an important role in terms of facilitating, organizing, as well as coordinating activities. Associations confirmed that there are a lot of opportunities for the youth to contribute in the development of the renewable energy sector, as well as enabling access in the region. We heard that they can establish businesses. They can also join the mainstream employment sector and jobs in the sectors of off-grid solutions, solar home systems, among others. A number of challenges have been raised in terms of policy coordination. Some policies are ambiguous, and there's still quite a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of policy strengthening. There are challenges in grid integration, and some associations indicated that there is generally lack of interest or apathy among utilities to try and assist renewable energy integration and connection. Lack of financing is something that was raised across the board by associations. Procurement processes were also, I think, mentioned as a challenge. A number of other challenges was also raised, and I think they'll be captured in our reports. In terms of solutions, there was mention of development models, such as PPPs. These are already existing, but I think they also need to streamline and make sure that, associations and their members also participate. There was mention of need for governments to explore and provide more opportunities for financing facilities. On this one, would also like to challenge you as associations to maybe go beyond just mentioning it and tell us how you are doing it and how you would want government to do it. Because as you will appreciate, our governments are already overstretched in terms of providing financing. That's why they are calling for private sector to participate, as well as advocating for PPPs. There was mention of gender mainstreaming and poor representation of women. And associations, we are glad that you're trying to do something in this respect. As a way forward, maybe I would just like to mention that this is an ongoing series of webinars. As indicated at the beginning, we are already halfway. We have done 3 webinars. We still have 3 more to go in September, October, and November. We would like to invite you to participate in the remaining ones. We have taken note of the recommendations, some of the issues, the challenges that have been raised in this webinar. We'll consolidate them and synthesize them so that in our policy recommendations, we are providing evidence-based policy development recommendations. And that you continue to interact and provide us feedback, provide us your suggestions. SACREEE is there for you. We would like to continuously and actively engage with you. Cornelia shared with you a number of, I think, links and you also know our website. Please keep visiting it to see what is happening, and also post your suggestions to us. We believe that as youth, you continue to provide a useful role, and you are important in bringing our goal of affordable access to energy in the Southern Africa region through your participation. And we encourage you that you keep working with your associations, and please recruit more members and increase your visibility. I would like to wish you a very good evening, and thank you very much for your participation. Thank you. Bye. Over to you, Cornelia.
Thank you very much, Eugenia, for the closing remarks, and we'll see everyone else in our next webinar series in the 15th of September, focused on women in the renewable energy and energy efficiency sector. So goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.